Hey everyone, we are in Mark chapter 9, and we've kind of entered into the last 3 to 6 months of Jesus' life, and a lot of people call it the retirement stage of his ministry, that he retires from the crowds and he spends a lot more time with his disciples trying to teach and train and just trying to prepare them for what's ahead of them. And so we're going to begin in verse 30. Then they departed from there and passed through Galilee, and he did not want anyone to know it. For he taught his disciples, and he said to them, "The Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of men, and they will kill him, and after he is killed, he will rise the third day." But they did not understand this saying, and were afraid to ask him. And then he came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, "What was it you disputed amongst yourselves on the road?" But they kept silent, for on the road they had disputed amongst themselves who would be the greatest. And he sat down, called the 12, and he said to them, "If anyone desires to be first, he shall be last of all, and servant of all." Then he took a little child, and he set him in the midst of them. And when he had taken him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever receives one of these little children in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but him who sent me." Jesus tells his apostles exactly what's going to happen. He's going to be betrayed, he's going to die, and then he's going to be raised the third day. And he'll continue to tell them this for the next 3 to 6 months. I think for a couple reasons. Number one, he just needed them to understand what was going to happen and be prepared for it. But number two, could you imagine knowing your end and knowing just how awful it was going to be? You could just imagine the stress, imagine the toll that it would have taken on his body. And imagine knowing what you're going to know, feeling the way that you feel. And then those who are closest to you, all they do when you tell them is they start arguing about, well, who's going to sit on the throne when he's gone? It's like your kids arguing about what they're going to get when you die before you die. How would that make you feel? Well, that's where Jesus is. And in verse 33, he says, "What were you disputing amongst yourselves on the road?" They don't answer, but Jesus knows. In fact, look what he taught his disciples. If you want to be first, you got to be last. Jesus knew exactly what they've been arguing about. What's incredible about Jesus is that he may have been really disappointed in them, but he's not necessarily angry. He's patient with them, and he takes time to teach them about what greatness means in his kingdom compared to the world. Greatness in the kingdom is not about power. It's not about popularity. It's not even about self-esteem necessarily. It's about the humility of self and the exaltation of others in service to them. Isn't that what Jesus did? He took himself from the highest possible position in equality with God in heaven, not holding on to his divine rights, but humbling himself in the lowest position possible and suffering on a cross for the sins of the world in our service. It's incredible. That's our challenge. I love the living illustration that Jesus uses when he takes the child and he puts him in the midst of the disciples. It says when he'd receive him up in his arms. Can you imagine Jesus loving on a little child? And then he starts teaching them not about becoming like a little child, but about receiving a little child. And so it's about humbling ourselves and serving others that can't necessarily do anything for us in return. Changing a diaper is a thankless job. They don't get on top of the table and start singing your praises and patting you on the back. He says it's not about what you get out of it, but it's about what you give. And so Jesus is teaching them to stop being so self-serving, but start serving others selflessly. I think we really struggle with that.